Arizona Territory, 1887. The desert was quiet, too quiet. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Rancher Jedediah Kane, a war veteran known for his calm nature and iron will, was riding home through the narrow, winding trail of Red Knife Canyon when his horse stopped abruptly. Ears pointed forward. Jed felt it too, a sound distant, faint, like someone trying to scream but unable to. He nudged his horse forward. As the trail opened into a clearing beneath a towering cliff, the scene hit him like a bullet. 5 Apache girls, barely teenagers, were hanging upside down from a crude wooden beam tied between 2 dead trees. Their hands were bound behind their backs. Their ankles were tied tightly to the beam. Their black hair hung like curtains in the dust. Their faces were purple from the blood rushing downward. They were weak, shaking, slipping in and out of consciousness. Under them, the outlaws had built a small fire so the smoke would rise and choke them slowly. A wooden plank near the fire read, "The Apache's last warning, trespass and die." Jed's chest tightened in rage. He recognized the work immediately. The Dead Man's Colt gang, a group of ruthless men hired by corrupt land barons to scare Apaches away from their ancestral lands. Jed dismounted instantly. He cut the first girl down, catching her gently before she hit the dirt. Tears streamed from her swollen eyes as she tried to speak. More men. Coming back. Her voice cracked and faded. Jed worked faster, slicing through each rope and lowering each girl one by one. Their breaths were shallow. Their lips cracked. Their arms numb. He whispered to them, "Stay with me. You're safe. I'm here now." Minutes later, the girls lay wrapped in his spare blankets, recovering slowly. Jed poured water into their mouths, drop by drop. Then, a low rumble, hoofbeats. Dust rising at the canyon entrance. The gang was returning. Jed's heart pounded. He had no time to move the girls, no time to hide them far enough. He pulled his horse around, grabbed his rifle, and positioned himself behind a large boulder. 5 men rode in, laughing, drunk, waving their pistols, until they froze. The beam was empty. The girls were missing. Their leader, Vance Harlow, spat in the dirt. "Someone touched our message," growled. "Find him. Kill him." Jed didn't wait. He fired first. The echo exploded through the canyon like thunder. One outlaw fell from his horse. Jed moved with precision, his rifle reloading and firing with the speed of a man who'd seen war and survived it. The canyon walls amplified each shot, confusing the gang. The outlaws fired wildly, bullets sparking against rock. Jed slid down the boulder, rolled and fired again, another man down. But Vance Harlow wasn't just any outlaw. He was cunning. He dismounted silently and flanked around the canyon wall. Jed stepped out to check on the girls, and Vance launched himself at him from the shadows. Both men crashed to the ground. A brutal fistfight erupted, the kind that left blood in the dirt. Vance was huge, mean, and fought like a bull. Jed fought like a man protecting the innocent. Vance slammed Jed into a rock. Jed drove his elbow into Vance's throat. Vance pulled a knife. Jed grabbed his wrist and twisted hard. The blade clattered to the ground. With a final surge of strength, Jed punched Vance so hard the outlaw collapsed unconscious. The canyon fell silent. The remaining outlaws fled, terrified, their leader defeated. Jed staggered to his feet, bleeding, panting but alive. He went back to the 5 girls, checking each one carefully. "You're all right now," he whispered. "No one's hurting you again." He placed them all on his horse and led them out of the canyon on foot, mile after mile, refusing to rest until he reached the Apache village at sunrise. When the tribe saw their daughters alive, cries of joy filled the air. The girl's mother collapsed to her knees, clutching them, sobbing. Chief Tachini stepped forward, gripping Jed's shoulders with trembling hands. "You did what our enemies would never do," the chief said. "You protected our blood with your own. We will never forget." Jed nodded silently, exhausted, but he felt something deep inside, a sense of purpose, a reminder that good men still had work to do in a land filled with cruelty. And from that day forward, the Apache people spoke of him not as a rancher, but as the white warrior who returned our daughters, a man whose name carried across the Wild West like a legend carved in stone. The sun had barely risen when Jedediah Kane led the 5 rescued girls into the Apache camp, but the village was already awake, drawn by the echo of approaching footsteps and the whisper of hope. Mothers gasped. Fathers froze. Children peeked from behind blankets and tents. When they saw the girls, weak, bruised, but alive, an explosion of cries and prayers shook the air. The eldest girl, Ayoka, could hardly stand, but she reached for her mother with trembling arms. The women rushed forward, pulling the girls into the softest, tightest embrace. Tears flowed freely. Jed stepped back, giving them space, every muscle in his body aching from the fight. But he didn't mind. The sight of the girls alive was worth every bruise. The Apache chief Tachini approached him slowly. He looked older this morning. Too many nights spent wondering if his daughter was alive or dead. "You carried them home," Tachini said softly. Jed nodded. They were near gone. Another hour, maybe less. The chief closed his eyes as if swallowing the pain. Then he placed a hand on Jed's shoulder. "You saved 5 families. For that, you will always have a place among us." But just as the village began to breathe again, a single horn sounded from the ridge. One long note, a warning. The Apache scouts sprinted down the hill. It wasn't over. An army of dust rose from the desert, horsemen, dozens of them. The dead man's Colt gang wasn't done. They were coming hard, riding straight toward the Apache camp. "They return?" Tachini growled. Jed's stomach clenched. "No, not for the girls. They're coming for revenge." The tribe reacted instantly. Warriors ran to their weapons. Women pulled children into the safety of the stone huts. The village, moments ago celebrating, shifted into battle preparation, with the precision of a people who had survived generations of attacks. Jed grabbed his rifle and checked the chamber. Still warm from the fight, Chief Tachini looked at him and said, "You can ride home now, rancher. No Apache would think less of you." Jed shook his head. "Not leaving. I'm the reason they're angry. This fight is mine too." The chief's eyes softened. He nodded once. Ayoka, the eldest girl Jed saved, limped to him, supported by 2 women. Her voice was faint but determined. "You saved us. Do not die now." He gave her a gentle smile. I'll try my best." The ground began to tremble. The riders were close. War paint was smeared. Spears were lined. Bows were drawn. Jed took his place beside the Apache warriors, atop a ridge overlooking the camp entrance. He swallowed hard. Against this many riders, the Apaches were outnumbered 3-1. But they weren't afraid, and neither was Jed. Tachini raised his hand, signaling silence. Only the wind spoke. Then a thunderous shout echoed from the approaching gang. "We want the rancher, and everyone who hides him." Jed stepped forward so the outlaws could see him clearly. "I'm right here," he shouted back. A wave of rage swept through the outlaw riders. They charged. Tachini dropped his hand. The Apache arrows flew like a dark cloud. Rifles cracked. Horses screamed. Dust exploded. And Jed fired the first shot from the ridge, setting off a battle that would be remembered for decades as the Siege of the Apache Dawn. The fight for survival had begun.